Hey everybody, Objectively Dan here, and I'm going to give you a quote from Answers in Genesis, the creationist organization. And they say, if we depend on evidence outside the Bible to strengthen our faith, we can be shaken every time another argument comes along that seems to undermine the Bible. We need to make sure our trust rests in the God who gave us scripture, not human arguments that question his word. I mean, talk about telling on yourself, right? If I told you, hey, we need to rely on everything that this science textbook says and don't actually look at any other books that talk about the science or whatever, you'd probably think that that's a really weird thing to say. But for some reason, we have to take the Bible more seriously than any other book that's ever been made. I don't agree with this, but maybe there's some of you that do. So if you really think we should honestly just listen to the Bible and not listen to anything else that's ever been made, then you should call into the show because we're starting right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Truth Wanted. I'm your host, Objectively Dan, and this is the live call-in show that happens every single week, Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time. We talk to people about what they believe and why, and if you'd like to call us, you can do it right now. The lines are open. It's 512-991-9242, or you can call through your computer at tiny.cc/calltw. And as always, Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And every single week, I always have a guest with me, and this week is no different. It's Tom Benson, everybody. Tom, welcome to Truth Wanted.
Daniel, thank you for having me.
Oh, you used Daniel on me. That's I don't like that personally. I'm one of those guys. It is a biblical name. I always, a funny thing is because I'm not Jewish at all, but I have a Jewish name. Right. And I know Daniel's so mainstream now, but I always thought that was kind of weird. I have no history of that in my family, but for some reason, that's the one name that everybody gets. I guess it's not a big deal in the long run, but something
I've always called you Daniel.
Yeah. Well, it's Objectively Dan to the internet denizens. OK, don't give commenters any ideas about calling me Daniel. Okay,
my bad.
Well, they will. Yeah, they will. Yeah. So we have a segment that we do every week, Tom, and it's called We Want the Truth. Last week, we asked some folks a question. What's the difference between Jesus and pizza? And I honestly did not know what to think of this question. This one was written by wonderful co-host Kelly, who, has some ideas, but I guess it was a good question because we got more responses on this question than we have in any other question that we've asked in the history of the show. So good job, Kelly. Apparently, I don't know what I'm doing because Kelly just comes up with this thing and just knocks it out of the park. So here are the top 3 answers, but let me tell you something. It was a very fierce competition this week. Number 3 comes from Here618, who says pizza delivers cheeses, but Jesus never delivers pizza, which is a pretty good one. At least it makes me laugh. Again, I couldn't even come up with my own for this one. So shout out to you guys that even answered at all. It's pretty good. Number 2 comes from the MS Zux, who says, too much pizza and you're only hurting yourself. Too much Jesus and you end up hurting everyone else, which is
fair.
Which is pretty good. But I mean, you can't hurt yourself by eating too much pizza, to be fair. Or I guess not hurt yourself. You can hurt other people by giving them too much pizza too, I feel like, because if you gave me a bunch of pizza and it was just for free, that would definitely mess with me. I think I would definitely take advantage of that. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm getting too abstract here. But the number 1 answer for this week comes from Broke the Seal, who says the difference between Jesus and pizza rises. And man, that's gonna be our top 3 for this week. You guys are some sassy, creative people. I honestly did not expect it. I didn't know if anybody was going to answer it, let alone the fact that we got more answers than we've ever gotten ever. So again, shout outs to Kelly and shout outs to you guys for your very creative responses. The prompt for this week, though, is going to be what sounds like a compliment but is actually an insult. Well, which I think is a really great one. Tom, if you had to answer this question, have you thought about this one yet? What sounds like a compliment but is actually an insult?
Yeah, I thought way back, and like everybody had the same instinct that I did, which was like the bless your heart one. It's like, it doesn't mean what you think it means type of deal. But I remember I used to have glasses, and when I first went to work in like corporate America, it's weird how people think about you when you have they just assume you're smart because you have glasses. Kelly knows this. Right? Like you have glasses, they assume you're smart and whatnot. And I was helping somebody with an Excel spreadsheet and got some formula right for them or whatever, because I guess, a little smart and whatnot. And they said, you're so lucky you don't have to worry about your looks. It's like, what? Oh, burn, yo. Like,
oh my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy. I've heard similar things like, oh, you have a face for podcasts, right? Which is kind of the new, you have a face for radio, I guess. But what I was been thinking about recently was something I read, which was when somebody says, don't worry your pretty little head about this, was a phrase that I read. And it's like, and I think in that context, they were being sincere, but I feel like that could be very sarcastic very fast. So yeah, give us your best ones below in the comments, though, what you think is what sounds like a compliment, but is actually an insult. And we'll go ahead and read our top 3 answers next week. But yeah, let's talk to you, Tom. Tom Benson. Tom, describe yourself in one sentence only. You get one sentence.
Fuck, you didn't give me any prompt on this.
You gotta, just your whole life story.
Whole life story?
Yeah. You don't have to actually give your whole life story, Tom. What are you known for, Tom? How does the internet know you?
Oh, no, I'll give you a better one here. We were talking about life before the show, you know, life and the things that happen. What am I known for? I'm known in the local hospital as the guy who has Rocky Mountain spotted fever. You ever heard of Rocky Mountain spotted fever?
What is this a joke? Are you trolling me right now? What is that?
No. So last week, it was like Saturday night or whatever. I was like stuffed when you have kids and you eat whatever's left on the plate and you just scarf it down as fast as you can at the end of it. And then you do the rest of the night. And I woke up at like 2 a.m, nauseous, it's time, right? Let's get in the shower. Let's lay down. So I did that, vomited all over the place. And that feeling after you're ill from food and then you vomit and you feel better. Yeah. Well, that didn't happen.
Oh, no.
It just kept feeling like more awful and more awful. And so for the next 48 hours-ish, immense muscular pain, stomach pain, couldn't get up, trying to sleep, can't sleep. It's just like the pain's keeping me up, and stomach and nausea. Like, just keep every 2 minutes waking up like, throw up. Wish I could. Can't throw up. Can you make yourself throw up?
I guess if I like stuck my finger down my throat, probably.
Yeah, I did that 2 other times, and like ChatGPT is like, don't do that. Like it's giving me the red flags. Don't knock it off, Tom. And so eventually I was in like my 15th shower, and I was like, laying there, and I looked on my leg and I see a little nub. I'm like, what's that? And it was a tick. I'm like, I wonder if this has anything to do with my experience over the last 48 hours.
Oh no.
And so I asked my friend ChatGPT, as you do nowadays, and they're
like,
Tom,
first of all, why are you going to ChatGPT for medical advice, man?
Talk to it like it's my friend. It's like, it's better than Google.
Yeah, but, okay. All right. Okay.
It never takes you wrong. It'll say, hey, go seek medical advice, Tom. Knock it off.
Okay.
It tells me to stop.
If it's telling you to go seek medical advice, then that is good advice, I guess. But okay.
So then my wife Googled it. She's like, your friend ChatGPT said that stuff. I Googled it. That doesn't seem good. So we went to the urgent care and whatnot. And you get to the urgent care and they sign you in. They get all your money at a time, as they do. You need to nowadays. Make sure you got the right patient. And I'm sitting there and the nurse comes in and she's like, how you doing? I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Like, they didn't tell you what was going on here. I'm here because I don't feel well. So we covered it. I'm like, here's this tick and all this stuff. And they say, well, it's one of two things. It's either this Rocky Mountain spotted fever or it's this other tick-borne illness. And it's not Lyme disease. I already had that one too. I've got a lot of tick-borne illnesses. But they said it's the way you fix it is the same with like doxycycline or something like that. So now I'm on my 6th day of doxycycline, getting rid of this Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever.
Okay, well, I got to give you props, Tom, because in my years of doing introductions for guests, that has got to be the most bizarre turn face of any introduction I've ever had in the history of doing anything. So
tell me what I'm known for. And that was the second one this week, they said.
I didn't expect to be talking about fevers, let alone Rocky Mountain variety ones. And I appreciate that that's the first bit of information you'd like people to know about you. So that's really good.
Felt like I was back on the origami trail.
The origami trail. I thought you were going to say you had like Lyme disease or something. And that would have been like, kind of, that's terrible. I've never had it myself, but every time I got a tick, I always thought like, oh no, I'm gonna die from Lyme disease.
It's not that bad. You get it for life, I guess. So like I just have Lyme disease. Yeah.
Well, anyway, you really caught me off guard with that story, Tom. I'm glad that you're doing better. I guess you must be good enough now, at least, to come on the show, because you didn't mention that to me before we started recording here.
We talked about a lot of stuff. It's been a long week.
Yeah, you did tell me some other stuff that's going on. I don't know how in depth you want to talk about it here, but yeah, you've been having an interesting couple of weeks, I'd say. All right. Well, anyway, Tom, what else do you like to do on the internet and stuff that you want to talk about here? Sure. Any other,
we got a podcast. Yeah. Podcast. You can find us at www.howeverwegothere.com or www.howeverwegothere.com. We have both domains. You can learn more about that.
Well, what's the podcast about, Tom? You got to tell the people. What do you do? What do you talk about?
We talk to folks just like this podcast. What do you do on any podcast, right? You talk to folks.
Oh my God.
We have different conversations with them. It depends on who the guest is, right?
Your show is not live though.
No, it's a produced piece of content.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. It's a unique model too, right? Because most of this is like supply. I call it supply side podcasting, where you record the podcast and you put it out there. My podcast was called Demand Side Podcast, where you can go to the website and then you request an episode from us, and then we go through and we try to find the episode and we fulfill your request. And so it's a little bit different than just like, oh, you can find it. No, you have to request it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, very good. Very good. Very good. So how long have you been doing the podcast, actually? I don't know.
9 years.
9 years. Wow. That's a long time to be doing the show, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. So out of all those conversations that you've had, what are some highlights that you could tell us about?
One time there's this guy, he was a heroin addict, and he was in the habit of stealing meat from Kroger and then selling it in the parking lot in order to supply heroin for his habit. And he had gone so far as to steal the wedding ring off of his grandmother's finger as she slept in order to do this. And that was a good moment of reflection and be like, wow, for him, he didn't want to do all these things, but his body said, get more heroin. So he's in this situation. He's better now, to my understanding.
That's good.
But you talk with all the different walks of life in the world out there. Everybody's got these unique stories. Some people have Rocky Mountain spotted tick fever and Lyme disease.
That's right.
And other tick-borne illnesses, and others are heroin addicts and everything in between. But everybody deserves a conversation, opportunity to share their story.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What are some like stuff that you've learned since doing the podcast? Have you got any life lessons from it, or has it all just been kind of more stories to add to your repertoire whenever you have a party that you can just kind of bust out?
I think part of human nature, something you learn in business, in life, in the podcast and all that. Most 90% of the time, people just want to be heard. And there's so much that can be done just from like getting it out there, right? Like it's cathartic just to share some of these dark, deep secrets. We talked to a fella in Chicago. He had put someone up. You know what that means? To put him up?
Put him up? Maybe I don't. You tell me.
I think it was put him up. It was something to that effect. I was like, what do you mean put him up?
He's like hands up in the air, like you're gonna shoot somebody?
No, like they get dressed up. They get dressed up because they're at their funeral. They're dead, right? So he was a member of one of these warring gang factions, and he had put some other kid up, and he wept as he spoke about this situation. And clearly it affected him, and gun violence and all that, of course, absolutely. But like the catharsis for sharing that, as a podcast host, it's very difficult to know where to go from there, you know, after killing someone and be playing Call of Duty with this fella. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, that would be difficult. I experienced that there's one time I was talking to a guy, and the first thing he told me was about how he got disease from a tick when I was trying to introduce him for the show. And that was pretty crazy.
You asked a question, Dan. I answered the question.
You did. I'm teasing you. That was just the very I don't know, creative storytelling. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I'll say this though, Tom. You know, I as someone who also likes to talk to people for a show, I'll say that I've definitely been given a sense of perspective that I otherwise wouldn't have, because I don't know, it's really fun talking to people from different walks of life. You know, I don't know if I can say I've ever learned any big grand life lessons other than the fact that sometimes just people want to be heard, right? Some people just don't have many outlets where they can talk to people about their problems in general. And sometimes this show or shows like it end up being an outlet for people in some way. I don't know if that's always a good thing.
Let me give you a perfect example. You know Emmanuel, right?
Yeah.
Slave of Christ or whatever. He's called into every show I've been on. So the luck of the draw, I get Emmanuel every time. So I took it offline with Emmanuel. I took him onto my podcast, had some conversations with him. That's exact. I don't think Emmanuel believes half the shit that he says out there. I think part of it, there's some substance things going on. There's some deep-seated emotional things going on, but at his heart, at his core, if you get him in the right space and have the conversations, he's a decent human, like all of us are, struggling to understand, find our way in this world. And, you know, he's got a mind that just like goes like that. And he happened to, you know, instead of Lord of the Rings, instead of Harry Potter or fucking whatever, he found the Bible and is just like dialed in on that thing. But after 3.5 hours, you know, of trying to crack an egg and make some progress, I find myself unsuccessful. Emmanuel, if you're listening, feel free to drop us a note there. And I'm not saying unsuccessful, like, oh, I couldn't persuade you otherwise or whatever, but progress in terms of breaking through the fourth wall of like what's actually going on beneath there. You know, everything's a symptom in life. Everything's a symptom. It's a symptom of something from before, and we never got there, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'll say this too. When I've been on other people's shows and stuff, a question I get asked is, well, how do you convince people of stuff? Like, how do you like argue with people, or how do you convince people? And it's like, I often am not really trying to convince people. I mean, if anything, I may try to convince them of my perspective, right? I may be explaining what I think about something, but it's honestly not up to me to convince people. People, I think, ultimately have to make that change themselves, whether that's deterministic or something beyond that, you know, that's up for debate. But you know, it's up to other people, in my view, to kind of have the experience for themselves. And again, like, some people just haven't had the experience of even just talking to people about some of these ideas, right? In the context that you and I are probably interested in, right? Like, this isn't stuff that your work is going to ask you about. This isn't stuff that you're not going to be asked about at a party, at least, you know, a more general one, right? It's like, for some people, I've found that this is a good way to, I don't know, feel like they can talk about things that they normally wouldn't. And that's a win in my book. It doesn't mean they have to completely change their mind over something overnight, although there are definitely some people I talk to that I wish they changed their mind. But, you know, like I said, I don't think that's up to me at the end of the day. So I don't know. That's why I like to do this stuff. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. And I like, you don't do that, but I think there's a method to like get to the truth behind it or underneath it. Pull back those onions. And I think, you know, Kelly from the show does an admirable job. And I look up to him from this perspective, just like going like, how did you get there? And like peeling it back in a very comfortable, focused, but also genuine and honest way. And I've seen it happen in real time. It's a fun thing to happen too, because it's not like, oh, I won. It's like, no, like you won. You got some momentum of challenging yourself, and that's It's 90% of the game.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's good to give people the credit that they deserve. That like that's if you're working on yourself and you're just trying to figure stuff out, like that's work that you've done. Like yeah, maybe you're listening to other show hosts or you're listening to other podcasts or reading other books or whatever, and you're learning stuff from what other people have said, but like you're doing the work to figure that out. And I always appreciate it when people can do that for themselves. It's definitely something I've had to work on for myself for many years, and I still try to. But yeah, that's I think that in itself is an admirable thing. Absolutely. But yeah, also some methods are better than others, I think, in talking to people. But Kelly does a great job of doing it too. Shout out to Kelly. But Tom, we are about at that time, I think, where we should be talking to some callers. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Before we do, we always have to give a shout out to the folks who donate on Patreon. The Patreon for this show is tiny.cc/PatreonTW. And that's for everybody that donates to Truth Wanted specifically. I don't get that money. None of the hosts get that money. What that money goes to is the Atheist Community of Austin. And it kind of shows them, hey, Truth Wanted is a show that's worth supporting. So thank you to everybody that donates. But this week's Patron of the Week is going to be Jerry DePoy. I think I'm saying that right. Sorry, Jerry. If I'm not, feel free to correct me. But thank you, Jerry, and thank you to everybody that donates on the Patreon. You guys are really, really amazing, and we really appreciate it. But now that we have our shout-outs out of the way, Tom, let's go ahead and take our first caller. You never know what to expect on this show, and I'm not sure what to make of this call, but I guess I'm going to find out here in a second. We have Miguel calling in from New Hampshire. Miguel, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hi. Yeah, I've got a great book idea. I think everyone I talk to about says they'd love to read it and I'd love to write it. And I'm going to email you guys more details about how, I'd like to get a contest going in terms of getting females to write the book for me because I want extremely strong female characters.
Wait. You want people? Wait, hold on. You want other people to write a book for you?
It would be kind of like a ghostwriting contest kind of thing. It would be my memoirs in the style of Cosmos.
Whoa.
And it would try to rewrite all of science fiction. But one of the gimmicks.
Wait, hold on. Wait, Miguel. Why would you not just pay somebody to do that? Why are you asking other people to do work for you?
You have to have like $15,000 to get someone to dedicate themselves to write a book. I want as many different kind of perspectives and diversity of voice as possible. I want to kind of have it crowdsourced, and then I would serve executive editor in terms of cleaning up everything, putting it all together. And
okay, but Miguel, that's just asking people. I'm sorry, that's just asking people for free labor. You're just asking. Yeah, it costs money to do things, and that's why you should pay people to do that job, and not just ask people to do that for free. Especially if it's your memoirs, man. Like, I get it if you need help with like writing something. All kinds of writers use ghostwriters to help with stuff. But why would you organize something like that just to, I don't know, get other people to do like all of it for you and work as an executive? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I would be paying per chapter. It would be like a contest. And actually, that's not why I called. I was going to put more of the details in an email for you guys to review. But
well, hold on. Wait, Miguel, I'm just telling you right now, I'm not going to be reading anything or putting out a contest for you if you're asking me to like advertise your contest for you.
Send the email to me.
You can send it to Tom.
I'll take a look.
It doesn't have to be on your show. I'm just going to do it in general.
Okay.
But anyway, I just wanted to bounce an idea off you of a science fiction idea.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so wait. So you want us to critique your book idea? I thought this conversation was going to go differently. I thought from our call screener that you had different ideas about how time travels works, but this is actually just like concepts for a science fiction novel you're writing.
Yes, I'm sorry for the confusion.
Or asking other people to write, because I don't know. Are you going to be writing this?
It goes into the idea that conspiracy thinking in terms of time travel exists, but we don't have any trace of time travel, so this would help explain why.
Hey, remember I was talking about ChatGPT earlier? Ask ChatGPT how to write a book.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, I'll do that.
Is a good start, right? Like, it's not going to tell you the exact specifics, but it'll give you kind of the framework, and then you go like, well, how do I get it published? And it'll tell you all about that and the 15K and whatnot. It sounds like you've done a little bit of legwork already on it.
Sure.
But I think Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're like, hey, we're probably not going to get a bunch of volunteers over here at the show blasting out emails to say, hey, could you write a book for this fella? And I get the idea of like, let's do the strong female character. Tell ChatGPT that too.
I was just wanting to mention it on certain podcasts, especially like Sagan's podcast, because it's in the style of Carl Sagan, is Cosmos.
You say it's in the style, but has any work actually been done on it yet?
Yes, I've been working on it for 20 years.
Okay. Oh. Well, if you're working on it for 20 years, why do you need other people to help write it?
Again, men cannot write women's roles. And I want extremely strong women characters because I feel like they're due.
Who wrote Little Women?
I don't know.
Look, I appreciate the perspective that, yeah, men may have a limited capacity and the understanding of what it's like to be a woman for sure. But I don't think that bars you from being able to like write a female character. You know,
well, I feel like I can do more justice by editing what other people have written, and I'm really, really good at that. I have so many wild ideas that I have a hard time picking them, and I'm also not I have like autism, so like telling stories of drama like don't come out of me very naturally. Like I don't think in those terms. So this would be also kind of like an ADA, approach to ghostwriting. On a budget that would be, $250 here, $250 there, instead of $15,000 to get started.
Okay,
it's just an idea I had, but that's not the purpose of my call. I'm sorry to bother you.
No, it's okay. I don't want to do free promo for a contest that I don't think is a good idea. I'm sorry. I don't think it should be a contest, Miguel. I think you should look into writing forums and see like where writers talk to each other about stuff, and maybe you can put your ideas there, and I'm sure that they can help you figure out like what the best workflow for you would be. Because like, yeah, having other people help you write a book is fine, but having a contest and then just picking the best one so you could like potentially publish that doesn't seem like that's a good idea to me. I think if you're going to involve other people, you should talk to them directly about it rather than be like, hey, I have an idea here. Why don't you guys write some of this for me? And then I pick the best one and work with it that way. Right.
My ideas would be stringing their ideas together in a certain way, but also they would retain all financial rights and everything. My company, which would just be my memoirs or whatnot, would just take a 1% off the top kind of thing. They would be benefiting from it, not just initially.
Well, when you say your company, like what, you're going to pay for publishing and stuff? Like,
Yes, I'll handle the publishing side, but anyway, I didn't want to go into all these details.
That's kind of important, though. I mean, like you say, you're writing a book. I want to know, like, how are you writing this book, right?
Yeah, I've done it with like small snippets here and there from people with samples, but then nothing. I can't get people to call me back and like actually continue on. I'm willing to pay, but it's just. People don't trust me, and it's like, well, I get that. I know that's the hard part, but and I understand this is not how things are done, but I have never done anything the way people always do them. It's just that's how I think backwards on everything, and I apologize for wasting your time. I'm going to hang up now.
No, you're not wasting the time. It's an interesting conversation. What was the real thing you wanted to talk about?
Well, the fact that this is the only universe that we have. There's probably not multiverses, that those aspects of reality that are mathematical and give people the excuse to write different stories for the same hero that's long dead or whatnot. In my approach to time travel, which would destroy the universe so it could only happen at the very end of time, then you could have an infinite cyclical universe, but it takes trillions of years for each universe to cycle. And in that frame of mind, you could, in that universe, reboot all of science fiction and eventually get to Star Trek and Star Wars and warp travel, even if it's not possible in our lifetimes or in this universe's lifetime.
Huh.
Okay. So I guess I'm more interested in your own personal beliefs because, like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not a literary science fiction critique show, right? I'm interested in talking to people about what they believe and why. But you did say something really interesting, which was you think that this universe is the only universe that exists and there's no other universes. Is that something you personally believe?
I understand that is the scientific consensus. The many worlds hypothesis, it looks good on paper, but we have no evidence for any other frequency of anything, of any outside influences of any kind, or else those would be the rationales for believing in God too, right?
Well, I don't know what you mean by the rationales for believing in God. Do you mean like that?
In terms of the hand of God, you know, miracles and intervention from another universe, time travel, none of this exists. Like we don't have any proof of anything that isn't able to like be traced to an internal source to this universe. So I believe there is no multiverse. Like there's an omniverse, and that is this universe. Like different parts of this planet feel very different than others. So those could be said to be different aspects of the same world. But then, of course, you know, there could be other Earths like ours out in the universe, but it's very unlikely considering the fact that part of the Drake equation for intelligent life on this planet is the way that our moon was formed from a collision that happened just at the right time. So
okay,
we have all the seasons and tilts and all that stuff.
Let me. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but let's back things up for just a minute here, because you're saying some interesting things. I think one is that you're saying the consensus is that scientists think there's only one universe and not multiple universes. That would be news to me. I don't know if that's the consensus among cosmologists. As far as I know, I think it's still an open question. Now, I do think you're right in suggesting that, yeah, we don't have any evidence that like beings from other universes or whatever have like contacted us, right? But like, I mean, my understanding of multiverse theory is that there's mathematics that could suggest that, you know, our universe might not be the only one. There's principles of physics that could suggest that. Of course, nobody actually knows whether or not that could be the case, but
generally speaking, it stems from the fine-tuning argument, which is patently ridiculous, and it kind of begs the question in terms of
you're saying the multiverse idea is supported by the fine-tuning argument.
That's the solution it's trying to solve in terms of like, if this is just one of, you know, an infinite number of universes, then obviously we could have one that's finely tuned. And it's like, well, what do you think could you tune in terms of pi? Like pi has to be pi, and certain other constants like Feigenbaum has to be Feigenbaum. And like from there, you would get all the rest of them, even if we don't understand how. So the constants are the constants because of the laws of nature, probably for every instance of every universe. And I believe the series of universes is not parallel, but serial. Like before this universe was a previous universe, after this universe there'll be another one. But while this universe exists, essentially for all intents and purposes, there are no other universes. You can't leave this universe. You can't enter another one when this goes. Like, okay. For example, Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there though, because I don't think scientists are making that claim, like as to why there are other multiverses. I don't think it's because our universe is set up in such a specific way that it has to be the result of other universes. I think the evidence is a little bit different than that. I think it mostly has to, I mean, I'm not a cosmologist, but I'm pretty sure a lot of it has to deal with like quantum events and stuff and an understanding of quantum mechanics. And also like, well, like the origins of our universe, right? When we look at like cosmic microwave background radiation and stuff, you know, we can see where the origins come from. And there's some that suggest that like basically we kind of like bump into other universes before ours got started, right? So that there's a possibility that other kinds of universes exist. What you're saying is completely foreign to me. I've never heard any scientists talk about that as being the reason why multiverses exist. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Tom, what do you think?
I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. My best understanding for the origin of the universe, I could go into, but it's Penrose.
Yeah, I'm familiar, but I don't know. I don't know where to go with this call from here, Miguel. I mean, like, if we're talking about debating whether other universes exist or not, I can't tell you whether they do or don't. I guess I think it's interesting that you're pretty sure that they don't. But I would say, why not? Why couldn't there be other universes? I mean, I don't know. Seems like it could still be a possibility.
To support. If I don't have evidence to believe something, I try not to believe it. That's my only. That's my main thrust for my position.
That's fair, but I think if a scientist, if a cosmologist from NASA was able to present to you evidence from their observations from the Hubble telescope or whatever that there could be other universes, would that change your mind?
Well, it would have to coincide with all the other evidence against it. But yeah, of course, I would accept all evidence.
Okay, well, that's something.
Evidence.
All right. Well, there you go. I don't know. I think there's more evidence than you might think of the possibility of a multiverse. There's definitely not anybody out there that I know that's like, oh yeah, multiverse totally exists, but like I'm also not super plugged into the cosmology world. I don't know. I don't get cosmology monthly. You know what I mean? So maybe my opinion doesn't even really matter on it. But I don't know, Miguel. Here's what I will say though. I'm going to leave you with this. If you're really interested in writing a book or wanting other people to help you with a book, I seriously suggest you go to actual forums online and places where other writers post, and talk to them and see how they get their processes done. I know you don't want to do things traditionally, but I think there's way better ways than just saying, hey, here's a contest, and then calling into other people's shows and saying you're going to send information about a contest to write a book for you. Because I don't think it's going to be done that way, or at least not well. But that's my take,
I shouldn't
Miguel.
have mentioned it at all. I was just mentioning it in passing. I didn't mean to talk about it at all. I was just trying to give a preface for why I was calling, and I won't bother with the email. I won't try to get you guys involved. There's other podcasts that are more along those lines that I can visit with.
You can send it to me. I think it's a novel idea. You see that?
All right. Well, Tom gives you permission, I guess. Yeah. So there you go. You can start with that.
Tom Benson, Tom.Benson, atheist-community.org. You send us an email with some of that content. That'd be fantastic. At the same time, I don't know anything about writing or nothing, but you've been working on this book for 19 years or whatnot. I think Warren Buffett was something like 80 before he became a several times over multi-billionaire. He was only like a several hundred millionaire before then. So like anything's possible.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm actually a self-made billionaire in EVE Online. I started with nothing and now I log into billions just in my account to spend. And that's how I roll with sensible people.
That's rad. That's rad, Miguel. You keep cruising. Do your thing on EVE Online. But I'll go ahead and let you go. You have a great rest of your night. Man, that's pretty funny.
Online.
EVE Online's like an MMO. It's like World of Warcraft.
Okay.
Like World of Warcraft or RuneScape. So it's like you do. It's like spacecrafts and stuff. You can get materials and I don't know.
So he's not independently wealthy. It's not like real money.
No. He's being facetious. He's saying he's a billionaire in a video game.
Gotcha. Well, I think it's good to clarify for the listener.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see how people might not understand what he meant by that. But that was a weird call. I'm dumbfounded twice today. One by Tom's hilarious intro to himself, and then two by this call because
you got to equate these things, right? Like that was a call that we didn't. it's the call. First of all, this is an important part about the not the argumentation, but understanding people we were talking about before. You talk about the action, not about the character or the person doing it. So I like that you said that was an interesting call, because there's a call that we had. It's not Miguel, being something that we would not want to label there. We're not going to label Miguel. It was very interesting of a call. And I don't know if I'm going to get that book idea or whatnot. I don't really get it. I don't understand what the hell you guys are talking about.
Wait, you don't understand what we're talking about, like the multiple universes and stuff?
I don't get the point of a call where you say, I don't think these things exist. It's like, that's great.
Okay. Yeah. I picked up kind of on the same thing, because it's like, here is my opinion on things. It's just like, okay, like, I don't know. That's not the same thing as like, I don't know. If you're out here saying, I believe the earth is flat, okay, maybe we could talk about that. Sure. But if you're talking about something like there's only one universe and not other universes, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. It
would have made more sense if he was like, I don't know about this stuff, this book writing stuff. Who do you got? Can you give me a referral? Then we can give him a referral and we move on with the thing.
Yeah.
Or you want to talk about the astro stuff. I think there's other podcasts that do that, right? Is that our thing?
Yeah. I'm not the best person to ask, but I know it's not just fluff. It's not just like some guy's idea. There's real smart people that have ideas about whether we have one universe or multiple universes, or even what that means, right? Because that in itself is kind of a weird philosophical lexical conundrum. But regardless, I don't know. I'm not that guy. I guess I'm happy to talk to people and explain, or maybe figure out why you might believe something the way you do. Sure, but I don't know. I'm not sure what Miguel was trying to get with that, other than promo for his own project.
You don't even know the title of the book, for goodness sake.
That's true. Think of the title of the book. It rubbed me the wrong way to say, hey, I have an idea and I want other people to do it for me. That's just, I don't know if that's a great mindset to have, especially with writing.
I think if we would have dove into it, like he was explaining, I don't think I can write a woman well. It's like, if you have that instinct, probably not. But I don't think you're not enslaving people to do it, but like, hey, I need volunteers to just do this work for me. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah,
we run the ACA is a volunteer run, listeners powered organization, and it's tough. It's tough doing everything volunteer powered.
It's tough. And the folks that we do have on full-time staff work a lot, and I'm very proud of the stuff that they do, honestly, because it's a lot of stuff to make this happen. But like, I don't know, there was also like a product there to work towards, right? I think if you're going to start a project like that, you should at least have a copy for like a proof script or something tangible that people can look to. Because if you're really just starting from scratch, it's kind of like if you're starting a business, right? And you're just like, I just have a business idea. And you go to like an investor, no good investor is going to put money into that. They like want to see something, even if you're not doing everything. Like, I don't know, there's got to be something. So anyway, that's my unsolicited. Well, it's not unsolicited because Miguel, I think, called about it, but anyway, whatever. Regardless, let's go ahead and talk to some more people. Tom, we have Chloe, who's calling in from Pennsylvania, and now for something completely different. Chloe, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Oh, I was going to open with a joke about trying to sell a spec script, but I guess that's not going to work anymore.
Oh man, no, please, no. Look, send stuff to Tom. Please don't send me your ideas and be like, give me your thoughts on these things. Like, it's just, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm sounding annoyed by it, but it is something that happens to me a lot where people just like, here's my unsolicited thing. Please watch these things I make. And it's just like, I don't know, man. If I get to it, I get to it. But yeah, don't do that to other YouTubers without their consent, because other people have to deal with that too. But anyway,
send it to me. I like emails.
But Tom will do it. Tom will do it for you for sure. Anyway, Chloe, what's going on?
So, long time a fan of the ACA. This is my first time on listening to Truth Wanted. So I'm not really sure about how the format goes, but it looks like it's a little loosey-goosey around here. My major question that I basically have for the entire atheist community is, can we as theists move away from the God claim, the existence of God claim, and possibly work towards better claims about our religious praxis, our spiritual life, these other things, because there's no way in hell I can prove God. Like, he's elusive. That's his decision. However, what I have to do now is justify the fact that I look silly every time I go to do ritual. And yeah, I was just wondering, can I talk about that, or do I have to prove God first?
Oh, well, first of all, you say we're loosey-goosey here. It's not loosey-goosey. We're chill. All right. It's a very big difference. We have standards, damn it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Chloe, I'm just kidding with you. But look, listen, you're asking me, what can theists do, or can theists do something? I'm an atheist. Most of the people here are atheists. I mean, why you should be asking other theists that, right? I can certainly give you my take, which is, yeah, just kind of drop it. I don't think you need theism necessarily. I understand there's practices and rituals that are helpful to people, and I don't necessarily think that people should distance themselves from that. But yeah, unfortunately, beliefs can beget bad things sometimes, and some of that is tied into unprovable ideas like God. If you have, for example, an idea that, hey, everything I know to be moral is either dictated or because of God in some way, then I have to go through with that. I think that can be bad for people's life, bad for people's well-being, and bad for other people around them too, depending on the beliefs. So I still think it's important to talk about whether God exists or not because of that. But I mean, if you're just interested in atheism, where again, people have personal practices that help them in their personal life, I mean, you're going to find that most of us aren't as opposed to that. But if it's going to come with a caveat that, hey, we need to leave theists alone now, like, oh, we can't talk about the other thing now because we're interested in it, then I would disagree, because the God belief it specifically is very much tied to a lot of other beliefs, and kind of a more complex web of beliefs. Certainly not the only thing, but definitely important. But that's my take. Tom, what do you think?
I don't know. Go back to you, Chloe. Can you dial that in a little bit more for us about your specific ask, and we'll see what we can do.
Sure. Like I said, I can't prove the existence of God, so I'm not even going to try. But the question of, is this practice reasonable? Is it rational? Is it something that's within normal human parameters of human behavior?
What one?
What's that?
What one? Like, give me an example.
Yeah. Like what are your practices that you're questioning?
Eating crackers?
No, it's idolatry, basically.
Idolatry.
What do you mean by that?
Veneration of a goddess statue that contains the real presence of the goddess.
Okay, so like when you say veneration, are you talking to it? Are you like bowing to it? Like what does that practice actually look like?
I treat it like it's human. So I pet it. I bow to it sometimes. Sometimes I leave incense burning for it.
Okay. Do you I mean, are you asking us if we think that's okay? Like, what are you asking about it, I guess?
What I'm asking is that are these level of at what point do these level of practices start encroaching on those bad things?
Okay.
Because can we have a little bit of ritual as a treat, or does that lead us down a slippery slope?
Well, this gets into some very interesting territory. Let's talk about Gwyneth Paltrow for a second. Gwyneth Paltrow has made an amazing amount of money selling people absolute bullshit, right? Stuff that has vague claims to health, vague claims to, spiritual purity, etc., right? That a lot of people buy into or put more stock into than what it's worth, right? And end up getting burned by it. Now, this isn't just me saying this. There's been several legal accusations and stuff towards her, right? And of course, there's tons of people that have bought her stuff. But there is a question: do people just have a right to do that? I mean, I would try to help people in not going down bullshit when I see it, right? In some cases, obviously, like putting substances in your body or whatever can be dangerous, right? But like as far as like rituals and stuff, I don't know. I'm not going to be your boss. Like, I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, don't do this or don't do that. Right. But like, I think it is worth examining if it is helpful, or if there is another kind of, if it's a coping mechanism, or if there's other kinds of coping mechanisms that can be explored. Right. I've talked to people on the show before that believe in tulpas, for example, right? People that believe in imaginary beings and stuff. And sometimes it's just out of interest, right? They just read about tulpas and they kind of want to make one. Sometimes it's the result of trauma. Like they have some sort of experience, and this is something that helps them make them feel better. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of looking at your own motivations there and figuring out what's working for you and what's not, whether it's worth keeping. But yeah, I'm saying a lot here. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, you direct it to me. I direct it back to Chloe. Chloe, let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying here. I'm gonna mirror this back to you, which is that you do these rituals. They seem, not dangerous, not significant in any way, but they bring you joy. Is that right?
Pretty much. Joy,
Okay.
clarity, meaning.
Yeah, it's a habit. It brings a good feeling inside, and that's great. But to Dan's point earlier, and to what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, like it's generally this thing that you're doing is a symptom of some broader thing, especially when like at the basis of your argument is like, I know I'm not proving God or anything, but I like to believe this fun stuff over here because it gives me some sense of joy. Some sense of joy, those little things in life, like those are the best things in life, a culmination of all those small things that can bring you joy and happiness and all of that. But if the basis of it is something that you can't prove, and from our side is just like not real, I guess the point would be, could we find something that would also bring you that joy without any danger of this, not to use slippery slope because there's a fallacy there, but like not to bring you any danger of believing things that aren't true just because it feels good. Meditation would be a great example. If like you have this ritual with this doll and you're rubbing its head and whatever, what was it? Tactile stuff, right? Having a little pen, right? Or a fidget spinner or something. Perhaps that's a more productive way that you could occupy your mind. Meditation could be a good way to bring you joy. These are things that there's no other bad consequences that would come from them that you could replace those things with. And then we're not talking about, well, where's the line between these things? Because you've cut it off right from the source. You don't need to do those things. Does that help or make sense as far as where I'm coming from?
Yeah, it does. It's a little stricter than I was expecting.
I'm not saying this is the dogma of atheism and you have to do that. I'm saying, just to Dan's point, like reflect on this. Where is this really coming from? Is this what my dad used to do? All right. Did I start doing this when I was in college and I feel real stressed about shit? And it gives me luck to rub the top of the doll and whatnot. Like think about those things and just write them down. Does all of this make sense together to continue doing it? And if, at the end of the day, rubbing a doll's head brings you joy, like knock your socks off. But you don't need those underlying beliefs to rub a doll's head. I'll tell you that.
The problem is that I can't make a substantive argument against that without making the God claim. And that's one of the things that I'm like, freaked out.
Isn't that a red flag for you?
It is honestly. But it's one of those things where it's like, the thing I don't understand and that I've been questioning and I've been trying to understand is, why do we do this? Why do we do the silly religion thing that we do? And because I was an atheist and I still carry a lot of atheism with me into my practice, because like the question of, because I'm Norse pagan, if your gods aren't real, what do? Well, they're still inspiring to me. And that's just the truth. And that's what I'm left with is, what do I do with this? How do I use this inspiration in a way that isn't going to affect my life negatively and also build community for others?
That's a good question, Daniel.
Well, there you go, calling me Daniel again, Tom. What the heck? You're lucky you're funny. So here's the deal. This whole idea is the reason why Atheist Community of Austin is a thing, right? Because people post-belief still have a desire for institutions, right? Still have a desire for communities, still have a desire for finding and fulfilling life purposes. And just because you may find that you've dismantled some beliefs you may have previously had, i.e., God is real, God not, wherever you're at in your journey, it sounds like you have a mix of both. There's still a thing that needs to be done to the human spirit, which is kind of living this life, right? And getting meaning out of something that maybe nothing, in my opinion, is nothing. But if that's not how you see it, that's fine. The reason why, again, we talk about these God claims, it's exactly why you seem to be struggling with this, Chloe, is because, that seems to be at the heart of it a lot of times. If the Christian God didn't exist, which I previously thought he did, my life turned out to be different. The things I would do would be different. I wanted to work in Christian nonprofits. That was like my career trajectory when I was a teenager. Now I'm helping out with an atheist nonprofit, which is hilarious, but also like, wow, I could have been strictly bound to a religion that made me feel guilt, to a religion that made me do things I didn't want to do and work for people I didn't want to work with, because a God said so. So that's like a big deal. That really affects human behavior. If the level of like stakes here is just I have personal practices and it doesn't make sense if these gods aren't real, well, like Tom said, maybe you can find other practices to replace that, or just keep doing it if it's honestly not harming anybody. I still think having personal rituals and stuff is a good idea, but I mean, you can definitely still be inspired by things and still, fulfill things through that inspiration. All kinds of avenues for that. Writing, researching, right? I mean, I don't know. There's things you can do here. You just got to get creative with it,
Got a great writing opportunity for you.
That's right.
From a practice.
But only for females.
Oh, I don't want to do journaling.
Yeah. Apparently.
Oh, sorry. But there's more to it. It's just I don't think we're going to come to a fruitful, not really a fruitful conclusion. I don't think that there really is a fruitful follow-up at this point, because I think at this point what I was looking for in the conversation wasn't necessarily. It was just to judge generally whether or not I've lost grip on reality and whether or not I've lost sight of what's actually important.
They say, like, if you're thinking about that, then you're still here with us and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a lot of deep thoughts to do on that as well, which is nice, right? Having thoughts and thinking more about it, those are good things generally.
Yeah. I mean, having a religious belief is absolutely normal to the human experience. So the fact that you have religious practices is not abnormal psychological behavior in and of itself, right? I'm not a psychologist, but I'm pretty sure most psychologists would agree with that. There's no definitions under the American Psychological Association that talks about religious belief specifically on its own being a form of mental illness, right? So it's not like you're having a break from reality because you do things that maybe don't make a lot of sense. People do things every day that don't make a lot of sense because people just don't make a lot of sense sometimes. So if you're worried about your own self there, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose you, but based on this phone call, you sound fine to me. But it does sound like you're thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. So I would definitely encourage that because that's a pretty healthy thing.
Oh, no. It's just, I didn't mean to make it sound like a mental health thing. I just wanted to make sure that my spiritual priorities were still in order because, like, for me, I just want to make sure that I'm not losing sight that this is really about the profoundly human and not the abstractly fantastical.
What do you mean? What are your spiritual priorities?
Oh, right now it's just to be a better member of the community, to be a better member of communities, to learn everything that I can from other people's practices, and to generally just kind of live life.
Okay.
A good priority, living life, right? Same boat.
I'm guessing
you don't need a God belief to do that, Chloe.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm just.
What do they call that discomfort in your head? Like when you hear something, but
it's a cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. It feels like that's what's happening whenever we talk about the God belief, Chloe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me get you where I'm at, because I was worried this was where I was gonna sound a little off. It's my belief, and it's always been my belief ever since I converted out of atheism into theism, into paganism, that atheism is always more correct, but theism is more fun. And
Okay.
is the fun worth it? And
that's up to your own values. That's up to your own values. If you value truth,
oh yeah,
maybe it doesn't matter as much, right? If you value just having fun, maybe it does matter. Maybe that's why it's something you should keep interested in. But it really just depends on your own values, Chloe. What do you think?
Oh, I just want to make sure that these aren't values that are anathema to bring into your community.
That are an anathema to our community?
Well, I guess anathema is just a fancy word of saying just not good for. I've been hanging out with Christians lately, and I've been learning a lot of terminology that I wish would leave my brain.
You ever hear the Voynich manuscript?
Oh, yeah, I love it. It's just this.
What do you think it is?
Indecipherable.
Yeah, what do you think?
Oh, jeez. I think it's 16th century shit posting. Oh, can I say that on the air?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I was saying a bunch of shit earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she's going like aliens, right? Aliens, come on, aliens, and all that. We don't have like an unhealthy, violent disagreement because she thinks aliens and I think, fucking great prank. But at the same time, how does this impact our life? Other than those brief conversations and just like once in a while thinking about it, not at all. So I think your original question was like, am I going too far down? Where's the line? Like all that fun stuff. Like we don't believe in these things and take them further because oftentimes beliefs inspire action. And when you start crossing the line into action, like with other people and shit like that, that's where it gets to be a little bit more complicated and nuanced. And we want to avoid those sorts of things, especially when it's based on this underlying God belief that we keep getting back to of like, we don't want to talk about that because it hurts up here. Make it stop type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Again, I fear that we've reached the end of this conversation because I'm not sure where else we can go from here. And I've also been here for like 20 minutes, and there's probably other callers that want to get on.
One last question. What kind of doll is it?
Oh, sure. Oh, it's just a cheap resin figure I got off of Amazon.
Of what?
Or not? Oh, it's the goddess Freya.
Who's Freya?
Oh, she's a Norse goddess that's a member of the Vanir tribe.
Gotcha.
I would explain it further, but I'm pretty sure that would violate some sort of rule on proselytization.
Oh, I don't think that would. But listen, Chloe, first of all, we decide how long these conversations go on, so don't worry about that. But you've been we appreciate these callers more so. We tend to do longer conversations because they tend to be the more interesting ones. Not all the time, but usually they are. And this is an interesting one because I think we're dealing with a lot of different concepts here. But I understand that you felt like you've all you've needed to say, but let me at least leave you with this. You're obviously a very thoughtful person. You're thinking about your own beliefs, and it's very admirable. And I, of course, encourage that, just like everybody else. But you also said some things that I think might need some things thought through yourself. For example, saying the religion is fun, right? And atheism is just not fun. And that's an interesting assumption, I think, right? Like, how much fun can I have as being a non-believer as well, right? There's also some different avenues to explore there. Maybe revisiting some of that and thinking about why a non-belief is such a bad option can maybe lead you to some other paths or not. If you find that the path you're on is working for you, that's great. But clearly you're calling because you're conflicted. So if you want to get my perspective, there you go. Maybe non-belief is a better answer than you initially thought, right? I don't know. That's just me. But Chloe, thanks again for calling and appreciate your time. So there you go.
We're fun. We're going on a back cruise, for goodness sake.
Yeah, going on the back cruise, which is great. And a great segue, Tom. Thanks for pointing that out, because we are going to be doing a back cruise later this year. It's on August 24th. Forrest, Valkai, J. Mike, Secular Rarity, Jimmy Jr., and me are going to be at this thing. For those of you who don't know, in Austin, we have a river with boats on it, and there's bats that come out from under the bridge over the water there. So we kind of all hang out and go watch the bats together. So we do have information on tickets. It's at tiny.cc/bat cruise if you want to go check that out. And we also are accepting super chats, and we can read them live on air. We have a couple different super chats that I should be reading for that as well. Actually, specifically, we have one super chat. We got it from Guybrush1701. If that's a Monkey Island reference for your name there, that's awesome. I love Monkey Island. Gave $5 and said, if you met God and had one question you can ask, what would it be? Not necessarily a serious one. Mine, why don't Apple Jacks taste like apples? Which is very good. I don't know why you'd ask God that. I would ask the manufacturers of Apple Jacks. But
isn't it like the bananas thing? Like there used to be all those different bananas. Now there's only one kind of banana or whatever.
I don't know if that's how Apple Jacks worked, but yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know, Tom, if you could ask God one question, what would it be?
I don't know. This question came out of nowhere.
It's true.
What's yours?
See, here's the difference about doing recorded shows versus the live stuff, Tom. You know,
because like this a debate, but I see what you're saying. It's hard.
Yeah. It's a bit different, huh?
It's your answer. You prove me wrong.
I would say, if I had to ask God, presuming it's like the Christian God is all we're asking, why the incest? Like, why does there have to be so much incest in the good book? Why did you have to go there? Like, because if he's ordaining all the events, right, assuming predestination there, and you like basically force people to have incest, why? That's my take. I don't know.
Straight to the incest, always.
It's weird that it's more than once. If it was like one time, I mean, it's still questionable, but it's like several. So very weird. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on here. We got a few more callers who want to talk to us. One of them is Nathan from Ohio. Nathan, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hello.
Hello. How are you, Nathan?
Decent. I'm Guybrush, by the way.
Oh, hi, Guybrush. Thank you for the donation earlier. Really appreciate it. And I also I was told from our producer that the 1701 is a Star Trek reference in your name, which I didn't know because I don't know anything about Star Trek. So cool for you on that.
My favorite one, and I'm very happy that you recognize Monkey Island as my favorite game series of all time. So
heck yeah, they need to do new Monkey Island. That's my hot take for tonight. Where's the next Monkey Island? Come on, let's make it happen. Anyway, back to you, Nathan. What did you want to talk to us about today?
So, okay, this is going to sound like a rabbit trail, but I promise it's not. I'm writing a book about Batman.
Oh, Jesus. More book writing. What's up with the book writing today? Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me. I self-published one years and years ago, and been over a decade of just amassing notes and ideas at this point, but I need to buckle down. So the idea is that it's nonfiction, and each chapter is going to be like a different aspect of him, how he operates, his tools, friends, etc., and applying that to our lives. and like
wait, you said it's actually Batman?
Yeah.
Nonfiction.
Why are you writing a story? You know you can't do that, right? Like, you know, that's like a copyrighted character.
No, it's not. Well, because it's a fan work. I mean, you can self-publish whatever you want. Plus, on top of that,
yeah, I thought you. When you say self-publish, I assume you mean like to sell, but I guess you don't. You just like want to put it out there for free.
Well, no, I mean, I'm pretty sure I could sell it because it's like the superheroes and philosophy books. Because there's a Batman and philosophy book that I have that was really good.
Yeah, but that's not like a story. That's not like using the copyrighted character to tell like a story. That's like examining Batman's work, like the fictional works and stuff, right?
This is an analysis, though.
Okay, all right. I don't know why we're having so many conversations about the ethics of book publishing today.
I was just gonna say, is it me? Is it my? I'm not wearing glasses anymore.
I don't know what you brought on, Tom.
It's something.
You and your tick sickness has infected the show, I think, in some ways.
I don't know what's going on. Nathan, you sound like you're doing chores too.
Oh yeah, I'll sit still. I'm sorry.
What were you doing?
You're good. Let's put the book thing aside, unless it's pertinent to your question. But I think, I mean, according to our call screener, at least, you want to talk more about something else.
Yeah. Well, no. I did tell him about this because it does relate. And I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
So, brain fart. So one chapter, what I'll really be talking about is being like how to be an inspiration to others.
Okay.
Like how to stand up to oppression and stuff, sort of from the inside out, and like basically just pass common sense laws and.
Okay. Are you at, where? I'm sorry, but where are we going to? Do you want me to are you asking for advice on what I think about your book? Like where is this leading to?
Well, no. I'm really sorry. I have ADHD. My brain goes from A to B to Z.
It's okay.
So this does relate. This brings all the way back around to what the call screener wrote. So basically, this book is like Batman and humanism, basically. So like,
okay.
So like how, because a lot of people that I know, like I left the church years ago, but a lot of people that I know are still in. So I feel like I should address that at some point in this a little bit. Because there was a phone call I had with a pastor a couple years ago, and it was this giant circle talk of, well, I made the decision to change my life. Okay, so you did it on your own. Well, no, God did it. I didn't do anything. But you just said you made the choice, so you had to have done something. Well, God did it in me. I'm like, oh my God, like. You can make a decision without, a higher power because you just admitted that you made the decision. So like, have you encountered that? How would you encourage people that they are capable, believe it or not, to do things on their own?
Okay. So that's your question then, is you've encountered people in your life that say that God has ordered them to do things. How do you argue the opposite? Or encourage the opposite in thinking.
Ordered, but more like, well, I'm just stuck. I'm waiting on an answer to prayer. I can't move my butt until just do something. You make a change. Just do good in the world. You don't need to be, told what to do or wait for the spirit to move in. You just get up and do things.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, I mean, if you want my perspective, people's engagement in religious practice like that is their way of doing good a lot of times. Like when they think about, am I doing enough good this week or doing the thing today? It's, did I pray this week or did I go to church and stuff, right? Like it's literally like a checkbox thing for people. And when people aren't filling their checkboxes, that's when they're stressed sometimes. I know that's when I was, because you're not fulfilling your duties as a Christian, right? So some people's like understanding of like morality really comes down to, am I following the rules? Like, am I doing the thing? So, I mean, this is a question about human psychology here, right? I guess if you want to engage with people about it, maybe we could take a look at the call we just took before, which is asking people about motivations. Are you doing this because you genuinely want to help people, or is it because God is telling you to do? Or another way to look at it is, hey, I want to help other people, or I want to engage in this thing, but I feel like I can't because my religion doesn't let me, or, you know, some other facet about that. I think, you know, having those conversations about people's motivations can be really interesting and probably thought-provoking. But think about it from this perspective, Nathan. If you've ever gone to therapy and you go to a therapist does not change your life in one conversation, right? And their whole job is to help you, like, explicitly. So you shouldn't approach the mindset of, I'm going to go around fixing people by just having conversations with them, right? It should be more of, can I be a place of reflection for people in these instances, right? And do they have the self-motivation to fix that for themselves? Because ultimately, you can't fix that in people, right? You can definitely help, but like their own beliefs, their own motivations, that's going to be up to them. It's not really your responsibility, but, you know, helping helps, right? But anyway, Nathan, if you're asking my perspective on that, I mean, I think that's what I would say. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I think from a Christian perspective, you kind of get that deeply bludgeoned into you in your younger years of like, God did this thing and is just challenging you or this or that, right? Like, oh, now it's 2 a.m., you're vomiting in the shower. Was that God or is that Mexican food? I was convinced it was a Mexican food for like a day and a half. And now then you look down, you go, oh, wow, it's probably, instead of avoiding Mexican food like I had planned to do, I'm no longer going to that restaurant. Now I'm going, I'm not going to spend the rest of my evenings in Tick Valley going around without pants on, right? So it's all about how you frame it as far as why things happen the way they do. Things just happen, and then we try to make sense of them after the fact.
Excuse me. Got it.
Bless you. Gesundheit.
There you go. Nathan, what do you think?
Oh, but thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I apologize for being all over the board. It's just, it sucks that this is all still in my head and I haven't written a lot yet. So it's me compiling all this different information.
Send it to me when you're ready.
Do I have permission? Do I have permission to quote you guys if it comes to that?
Quote us for your publication?
Yeah.
I
mean, sure. Why not? Yeah, quote me. I don't care.
What are you using? What are you going to say? Was it the thing about Tick Valley? What are you going to say? What quote are you taking out of this?
That's true. What parts of it?
Oh no, I nothing really jumped out at me. I mean, I'm obviously going to re-listen to this call. It's just, like I really like what you said about, how ritual and you know, prayer, going to church, that kind of stuff, you know, is, you know, well, I can't do anything, so at least I can do this, you know, that kind of mentality. So
yeah, well, again,
and I totally understand that I'm not going to change, you know, mine. You know, they're going to read my book and be like, oh, I'm a different person, you know. But I still want to come at it at an appropriate angle to where I can at least make them stop and think instead of just completely write it off the instant they look at it.
And that should be the goal, I think, in my opinion, right? Can you be a pebble in someone's shoe?
Yeah.
Right? Can you be a point of reflection for people? Because again, another thing, using the therapy metaphor, there's a lot of people that go to therapy and they don't get their problems fixed, right? Like someone whose job is professionally to help someone with their problems, and it doesn't always happen because again, it takes that person going to it to actually do that work for themselves, right? And to actually take what's in. So don't feel like you have to be completely responsible for other people either. It would be my advice, but feel free to quote me, I guess. I'm glad you asked permission to me. I feel like you need to ask permission though to Warner Brothers about the whole Batman thing. I'm not convinced that you can just like use fictional stories about Batman without like working for Warner Brothers or having a license. You might need a licensing fee to pay for that and stuff, you know. So
into it, but I'm pretty sure I'm good because it's just like it's an analysis. It's like how like you go to Amazon and there's a lot of fan fiction about other franchises. Like I bought my son, some lady self-published a Metroid book based off the original game.
Oh, well, maybe there's more to that than I know. I don't know. I'd be surprised if you haven't get a license for that, though, at least, or something. That's pretty funny, though. Or, hey, why not just use an original character? You know?
Bat Boy.
Bat Boy. Man Bat.
See?
Well, there's a Man Bat in Batman.
Oh. See how easy that is?
Thank you for that. That reminds me, I do need to look into that character. There's
Okay.
ones I'm going to look at, too, just for different angles.
And we will look into a referral program for book publishers.
Yeah,
and
for
book
real.
Publishing legal advice or something.
I know. This is Truth Wanted is now a.
I self-published something
Yeah, go ahead.
several years ago, and I've like you said, I mean, I will look into that, but I have self-published some years ago, and my pastor at the time, he was also working on his own project. So between the two of us, we learned what was legal and not off each other. So
Cool. All right.
Join the community.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Nathan. I appreciate your perspective, and hope we were helpful to you. Apparently we were, because he wants to quote us for his book. So that's pretty cool. What are the odds? That's just so weird. I don't understand, Tom. You've brought an energy to this place, a curse.
I think it's the primacy thing. Weren't you guys talking about this last week, where it's like, oh, once you see it once, then you see it everywhere else again?
Yeah.
I get what that is.
Yeah.
People hear book publishing, they're like, I got to tell these guys about my book.
Yeah. Listen, we're now going to get emails of people's unpublished manuscripts and people asking opinions. Oh, yeah. Well, you will.
I took the bullet for you.
Thanks for that.
I like emails.
Yeah. I again, I don't want to sound like a grumpy old so-and-so, but like, you would not believe the kind of ridiculous 26-page long emails I see sometimes for people saying like, here's my complex mathematical theory that makes no sense. Can you please give me your thoughts on it or whatever? It's just like, I'm not sorry. It's just not going to happen. And I can't imagine people who are, infinitely more popular than me have to do that. So just, word of advice. It's just, not the best thing in the world to do, but hey, at least they asked. So that's more that I can say about some people. Let's see. Real quickly, I need to talk about our merch, because if you haven't seen it yet, you should. It's at tiny.cc/merchaca. We got our t-shirts and our hoodies, our mugs, and hats and stuff. Definitely check some of that out. Right now, we're just running with the classic Truth Wanted logo this week. If you want to rock your guns out, do it in style with a Truth Wanted tank top. That's what I say. Going to the gym, going to Gold's, getting your swole on, chugging your protein powder with the Truth Wanted logo. Everybody's going to think you're cool. That's a guarantee from me. So check that out if you haven't already. And also, I need to thank the wonderful, awesome crew that helped make this show happen every single week. Let's go to the crew cam if we can in just a second. Woo! There's our crew working the background. Thank you so much, crew, for doing our audio, video, editing, bunch of stuff that happens behind the scenes. And thank you to Kelly, who's been our backup host for tonight. Kelly is super awesome. And if you want to talk to Kelly and also Tom, we are going to be doing an after show in just a second. It's at tiny.cc/ACD Discord. So check that out if you want to come talk to folks. It's not recorded. It doesn't go anywhere. So if you want to jump in on it, now's the only time to do it if you're watching live. And if you don't watch live, hey, consider going to YouTube and watching this show live. It happens every week, Fridays at 7. Besides that, though, Tom, we should reiterate where people can find you at. You mentioned some links at the beginning, but if people want to find you, where should they go?
Yeah, you can go to the website, www.howeverwegothere.com or www.howeverwegothere.com. Either works.
Cool. And then also, Tom, I always have to ask my guests every week, or at least I try to. Sometimes I forget. Words of wisdom. Do you have any words of wisdom for people out there? What's the one thing that you would say?
Another one of those stump type questions that you ask me
Mm-hmm.
to put me on the spot and just talk
To be
about
fair, I did brief you about the words of wisdom before the show started, so I don't know if you can say
briefly. that. We're like, we have 1 minute to go. I'm logging off. I'm going to ask you a question at the end. Blah, boom, and then we jumped into this whole thing.
Come on, you were here. No, that's not true. You were here literally an hour before we got the show started.
Showed up early.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't give me the question early.
I did give you the question, Tom.
The wisdom. You asking for wisdom.
See, I'm not getting an invite on Tom's podcast now. That's what's happening.
You've been on the podcast. You just don't know it.
Yeah, but it's not happening anymore. I can see it.
You were already on the podcast. My podcast was running at the pre-show.
Yeah, but it's not happening again, is what I'm saying. That's the joke. Anyway, continue, please.
Wisdom. No, I think if you're seeking book publishing advice, enter those search terms into the old search engine and see where it takes you. It probably won't be here, but it might in the future, based on the SEO shit that we're going to get from this.
Okay. Great words of wisdom, Tom. And with that, I'm Objectively Dan. We'll wrap things up for tonight. Remember to always keep on the truth, and I'll see you next time.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/YTNP.